dead. The final gunshot was an exclamation mark to everything that had led to this point. I released my finger from the trigger, and then it was over.
Welcome to 30 and Nerdy. My name is David.
And I'm AJ.
And we are going to be talking about a wonderful game that is 17 years old.
You know what? I'm alright with that.
Yep.
Just means we're old.
Yeah. But Max Payne is what we want to be talking about today, and how much of an impact that was in my childhood or young teen years.
It was definitely a big, big impact when it came to gaming. For me, like 16, 17, I think I was when that game came out.
It's year 2001, so 1999, I was
7.
13, so 14, 15.
Oh,
so
really?
you're 15, 16.
Well, in the year 2000, I was 16, so 2001. Exactly. I was so bummed
I
out.
wish they'd bring that back.
Just keep saying year 2000. I don't care, Conan. You could do it. But no, like, I remember how much I loved playing it. But like my thing was like it was the year 2000. I just turned 16. I was bummed out we didn't have flying cars yet.
Yep. And we still don't. I'm actually kind of okay with that, seeing as how people drive.
Yeah. I am.
It just the flying mortality rate would skyrocket.
Yeah, could you imagine the whole Jetsons future? Like no. That's just not going to happen. It's just going to be a world full of Mr. Stones.
Now, if they can get the self-driving car and then do the flying thing, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because then it's out of my hands. I don't have to worry about flying myself into some corn patch here in Iowa.
That's true.
At least it won't be my fault when that happens.
Well, I mean, I work downtown, so you can only imagine. But anyway, speaking of downtown, Max Payne 1 takes place in downtown Manhattan in one crazy
Hell's
night.
Kitchen. And the thing I loved about this, because it was, are they Dutch?
Swedish.
Swedish. It was somewhere in the Netherlands.
They were small fry people. So I just watched a YouTube video, and it was talking about how there's just this small development team called Remedy, and nobody bugged them. So it gave them time to do whatever. And then they had the genius of Sam Lake, who ended up being the face
because
of Max
since
Payne.
they were so small and their budget was so strapped that a lot of they used pictures of I think his mother is the villain.
His mother
in the game.
is the villain. Yeah,
people used their just random people off the street. They used their girlfriends, boyfriends,
so
of people in the office.
That's why sometimes in some of the panels you get like a really goofy face, because like he's not a professional actor, so they're just like taking all these photos and then they would like go over them with ink, and that's how you got it. Because it was cheaper. If they needed to redo or change story on the fly,
yeah.
Fuck it, cut that slide, make a new one. And it dates the game really well. You don't feel like you're, because it doesn't have those shitty cutscenes. I mean,
well, and that's when 3D graphics just was coming into its infancy.
Oh yeah, like,
so I mean, hands were finally getting out of the blocky stage and into somewhat normalcy.
I mean, it was crazy because they actually had like faces pasted onto the models for everybody. So, and their mouths moved, and that was like a big deal at that time. It's like, holy crap, mouths move in video games? I remember being blown away by it. But yeah, just crazy because since nobody bugged them, they took the time to make that game and make it the way they wanted to. And damn, did they bring out a great game.
And that was my first delving into film, well, not film noir, but noir.
Yeah, noir style.
And that was, I mean, it hooked me. Not many games could pull that off, and it was just absolutely amazing in what they were able to do, the storytelling that was going on, and I enjoyed how it was believable as far as just gameplay. Bullet time, not so much, but you know, But
the bullet time was needed because that game is ridiculously hard. Even on normal, you go back and play it, and you're going to get fucked. So I've been replaying it. I recently purchased it for Android OS for, I think, $4.99. And because I'd been wanting to talk about this game because it's a big deal. I love this game, and we've always kind of mentioned it in the shows, but we've never gone in depth on these. But anyway, so I've been replaying it, and it's ridiculous. Like, the way that they set up mobs in that game, like crouching in a corner. People who played Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 had more dignity than the mods or the mobs in this game, because there's like a point where you have to go around a corner, and there's a guy ducking behind a chair, and then he just comes running out. It's like, and then you're dead.
Yeah, and then you learn these things, and then bullet time through the door, twist and turn.
Yep.
Fire.
And like, if it weren't for bullet time, that game would be damn near impossible. But I mean, it's almost great because it shows you just how fragile Max can be. Because
there's some ridiculously hard parts in that game. Because I remember I probably used cheat codes
fucking
the first time I
part?
played it. No, the part in the office where all the secret agents come flying in.
Oh, Jesus.
And that is ridiculously hard. And I think I cheated, and I still was ridiculously hard.
I think some of those cheat codes are still kind of dug into my brain somewhere, where you could get infinite, or you could like refill all of your
painkillers and
with like L1, L2, R1, R2, triangle, circle, X, something like that. I know like a lot of like not Remedy, but Rockstar, their games. All of their games were L1, L2, R1, R2, up, down, left, right, up, down,
because
left, right.
Rockstar was the third
and second
and third. Okay, I couldn't remember. If they were the second one.
Rockstar saw what they did, and they were like, "We want you bad," and it was because of Rockstar, which we'll get more into this on Max Payne 2, but it was because of Rockstar they were really able to make Max Payne 2 the beautiful game that it is. But we'll get to Max Payne 2. Right now we're with Max Payne 1, and it's a pretty brutal game, especially once you have a child of your own. Playing through that intro is really rough now, because
your wife and child are dead.
Did they show a dead baby girl? It's
if I remember correctly, she's covered.
She
with
is
a blanket, but you see
she
her in
is
the
covered,
crib or something
but
like
the
that.
crib's like covered in blood, and it's just rough. Because like, anytime shit like that happens to a kid, like whether I'm reading a book, watching a movie, playing a game, there's a little girl in it, and they're innocent. My brain's like, hey, but what if Lola? And it's like, no, don't do that to me, you shit fucker. And then it's like, that's my baby girl, she's dead. No, why? And then like the wife, and it's like, that's my wife, why? And but
and I liked how while I didn't mind the Max Payne movie as a movie in and of itself,
it shouldn't have been called Max Payne.
Yeah,
if it had been called Marky Mark Does Cool Shit in Slow Mo, great fucking film.
Because what they did is they took the idea of the drug war. Because what was the name of the drug? Valkyrie. And they took it, and then they way overboard with all the angels and demons, and that it was actually like this almost spiritual warfare in the movie, as opposed to
like they turned
people
Acer,
on V were just thinking that they could fly, or that they were angels and demons talking to them.
Yeah, because in the game, so the junkies would yell like, "The flesh of fallen angels," and like attack you, like when you're going through the junkie den, which sucks butt. And then like that's when you go through your first V trip, and you gotta follow that bloodline.
Yeah, where your baby's just crying.
Oh,
and that was a hard part, because it's so easy to get turned around, because it wasn't just a straight path. Sometimes there were straight paths, but then there would be offshoots.
And there were like shortcuts, quote unquote shortcuts in there where you could like jump, and
Yeah.
if you just like happen to hit a line, you were there, or you just fell and died and then start over.
I did that a lot.
Me too. More so than I would like to admit. Also, the first time I was playing through the game, so ever since I was, I would say 15, I always had a surround sound receiver, and ever since then, like there hasn't been a time I didn't have a surround sound receiver. And it just so happens that the one that I had, I'm sitting there playing through, and then I'm like, what the hell's that noise? What the hell's going on? I'm hearing like all this static and what sounds like music. And I'm like, what the hell? I pause the game, but then when you pause it, it plays the Max Payne theme. So it's just like, bow, boo-doo-doo-doo-doo. But in the background, I start hearing Aerosmith. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And so, like, turn off my TV. And it turns out, for some reason, my stereo had crossed wires and was pulling through the tuner from 103.3. And it was some Aerosmith song. And I was like, how the fuck do I turn this shit off? And then I finally figured it out. But it really threw me off because, like, you're in this trippy zone. And then you start hearing, because like I knew the sounds of the place, and then I heard sounds I didn't know anymore, and I'm like, what the fuck? It totally freaked me out. It was cool, but again, we're still jumping ahead. Anyway, so the game starts out. You go into your house. You answer the phone. It's a mysterious voice on the phone, and they're just like, "Hi, Max," and then dialogue is exchanged. Then you see like a big V like spray painted on the wall with the needle, and so he's like, oh no, runs upstairs, sees his dead kid, and then like some gangsters come out, and then you shoot them down, and then you go into your room and there's gangsters in there and you shoot them down, and your wife is dead. And then it jumps, I think it's like 3 or 4 years later.
Yep.
So pretty much you're a guy who had the American dream. You had the wife, the kid, the house, the car. You had everything you ever wanted in life, and then it all just gets taken away from you in one day. And so you start working the drug ring instead, because you're trying to essentially figure out who was
Killed your
responsible for your wife's death because of the Valkyrie symbol. And then it's just one night in Hell's Kitchen. Just one night. That's the craziest part of it.
And it's an epic snowstorm.
Yeah, it's a super bad snowstorm. And it's really funny because, like, I can think back, and I remember thinking, like, it looked so, like, gritty and real and everything. And now that I'm replaying it, like, the textures are just textures on flat planes. So it's just, like, flat, but there's snow, and it looks like they tried to make it the snow fluff, but it's not really there. And but I mean, that's just looking at it through the looking glass of a 16-year-old game. And it just starts out, and you're going through the subway station. You figure out people are like, they're robbing the bank by digging a hole through a tunnel in the
subway system.
Mm-hmm. And then it just like you get pulled into the Punchinellos, and then there's Vladimir, and then the Ragnarok, which is like a satanic goth bar.
Yep.
Then there's the office with the fucking Secret Service people. It just goes insane. And then the last level, by far one of the hardest levels in a video game ever conceived. People in corners, you can't see them, they jump out, they kill you instantly. It's ridiculous. But I love it.
It is one of the best games I played in my childhood, and still probably in my top games of all time.
Most definitely.
Because 1 and 2 hold a special place. I haven't played 3, but...
So, we'll get to that too. I think it'll be kind of like a one-sided thing because I'm the only person who's really gotten in-depth into it. But with Max Payne 1, it's a game that you really only have to play once, and that experience is with you forever. Because, I mean, going back and replaying it, it's like, oh, I remember this. I remember this, too.
I remember. Now, were there... I don't think that there was nudity in the game, correct?
Not in that one.
Because I don't believe there's even nudity in number 2. There was, like,
There's a
Motosax
butt.
in the shower.
Yeah, you get to see Motosax's butt.
But I remember the first time when you're in some of the seedier parts of the game, and you're in some, well, like one of the Puccinello's whorehouses, basically.
Yeah.
And there's a video camera in another room videotaping like a bed.
Oh, yeah.
Was like,
and the funny thing is, like, everything in that game's interactable.
yeah, so you
Every
can use the
shelf,
bed.
every door, the beds vibrate. You know, it really just shows you just, like, it's a really seedy part of the game, or part of New York.
Well, and that's what the developers, they went to New York and took, I think, 5,000 pictures and 10 hours worth of video.
Yeah,
And went to like the...
but they had to have security with
Yeah,
them
they had
because
two
they went to
retired
the
cops.
shittiest fucking areas of the city.
But I like how they used the style of like a John Woo film with the action parts of it, and then noir for the storytelling, and it just is this perfect
Well, Sam Lake,
match
dude,
in heaven.
he's great. Sam Lake can write like nobody's business,
And the
then-
voice actor for Max Payne is just absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah, he's really good too.
And the thing I liked is that he, even through the however many years all 3 of the games were made,
yeah,
the same
it's still
person
him.
was Max Payne. I like that. I enjoy the continuity of not having a different voice for Max Payne.
And they still kind of use Sam Lake's face
Yeah.
all the way through as well. Max Payne 3, I mean, of course, the graphics are kicked up, and he's really old and just worn out.
And the funny thing, I know we're kind of skipping around, but the first one sold, I think when I looked it up, 3 million copies. I mean, I'm sure it's sold more than that now, but 3 million copies, which is really good, especially for such a small studio.
Yeah, it was pretty much you could almost call it an indie game.
And then Max Payne 3, I think, sold 3 million copies like in the first week.
And that's
whatever. But it's
I mean, but Max Payne 3 shot itself in the foot because they set it in like a favela, you know. Here's Colombia, and here's Max Payne. Not in the cold.
I would have liked it
not
to be
New York.
in New York, but now I after having done a little bit of research on this and looked at forums and YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff, I kind of want to play it just because I feel I owe the series that.
I owe it. I owe Max that. Yeah, most definitely. I
give him
feel
his
like
final
that's
farewell and send off.
Yeah,
because I do know how the game ends, but
I haven't gotten that far in the Let's Play I was watching, so I'm about halfway through the game. I was just watching like a straight 8-hour playthrough of it, just one fucking go. But anyway, back to Max Payne 1. The things that really brought me into love with that game, the storyline, because it's not a complex storyline. It's a very snip, cut, dry, in your face storyline. Your wife dies, you seek revenge. That's it. But the way that they play the humor, because it's such a dark fucking story, and the entire game's just this really when you say noir, it's true noir. It's sad, it's depressing, it's really gritty and
there's
rough.
not really a resolution.
Yeah, it just kind of ends, and it's crazy how it just ends. But so when you were talking about how you could see through the camera, and there's they were videotaping somebody. Turns out they were videotaping somebody that was in the
One
police
of the senators
force.
Yeah, that's right.
And technically, it could be that guy's fault that your wife was killed in the first place. Because he figured out something, and he was getting ready to tell you, and then to hush-hush, they put the hit out. And, like, some people try to really, like, push this game where it's like, well, no, secretly Max killed his own family because of the dream sequence. Well, that's just a dream sequence. It just shows that he feels responsible for his family's death. I think people try to make it too complex when you don't need to make it complex. You have a great story set up, and it's just put down in front of you. And then when Max Payne 2 came around, Sam Lake had taken had taken classes in creating screenplays. Mm-hmm. And it really showed through, because Max Payne 2, probably like the creme de la creme of Max Payne games.
Yeah.
Because immaculate writing. Just that game really gets you. Max Payne 1 is great. Mm-hmm. And it was a great startup. I always wanted to see a movie of it, and in my head it was always Bruce Willis was going to be Max Payne. And, you know, it kind of looked like that's what they were pushing for in the game originally. And then when we did get the movie, man.
Because I remember we were super excited when we brought it home and we're going to watch it. And then...
Yeah, because you and I watched it together, didn't we?
We did.
And then we were like, oh.
It's basically like if we ever do a podcast about Harry Potter versus the books and the movies. And it just... there's always this disconnect to where they need to make something that looks good on the... But I think
Max Payne, Harry Potter's like one of the few
book series that's relatively close.
That did really good with its original source. I mean, have you seen The Dark Tower? What an abortion!
I haven't, and it's I don't know, because I enjoy Stephen King, and I.
You owe it to yourself to not watch it. Unless you're sadistic like I am. I knew it was going to be terrible, but...
and the thing is, because I like Idris Elba, and I love Matthew McConaughey.
And Matthew McConaughey was decent, Idris Elba was decent, but neither of them were created for the roles that they were put into. And then, like, Roland's dad... who I always imagined was this amazing dude. They fucking have like the Allstate guy be Roland's dad.
Love his voice.
He's like, aren't him and Idris Elba about the same age? That's Allstate, Stan. You're in good hands. Jesus,
you in good hands. Just has that beautiful rumbly bass.
Yeah, he is really good at that. I don't got that.
Nope.
I'm white. I've got a mid-range voice cracking towards high. Pushing 30 and I got a bum ticker.
The thing I also loved about the first, all the Max Paynes, but I enjoyed, because I have this really, I don't know what you want to call it, but ever since I was a kid, I always, certain things stand out to me and I can't not
enjoy
hear
them.
And, just fixate on it, basically. Because there's this one tape that I used to listen to all the time when I was a kid. And one of the kid actors, when you kind of hear that little... I don't know if it's over salivation or something like that, but you hear the kind of crackle when they talk.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I would ever fixate. I could not tell you what the show was about. I can just tell you that the girl and some of the other people had that, and that's all I would hear while I was listening to the tape.
Now, did it drive you nuts, or were you like almost obsessed with it?
A little bit of both. Because it's the same thing, like on NPR the other day, had the same thing. And so I, once again, have no clue what they were saying on NPR. I just know that this person was talking about something, and that's all I could fixate on.
They had a very, very salivated mouth.
Apparently. And so the same thing happens in sounds with video games, and where the panels come up, and they'll have walking, pages turning... sound. Just the sound effects, I think, were just amazing to drive the story. It wasn't just him talking in his gravelly voice, but it was a living comic book, basically. And that's everything about it I loved.
The only thing
I couldn't wait to get to the end of the level just so I could see more.
Right,
of the comic book Paynes.
I definitely agree with you on that. The only thing I hated about that is there would be such a harsh like yanking you out of the game, because the minute one of the comic book Payne starts, it's just straight to that cello going.
And the music was awesome too.
But like you'd be in the middle of a level and you have different music and you'd be like doing like some crazy shit. So it's got crazy
John
shit
Woo.
music, and then as I look down, I turn the page and I look at myself and I go, "I'm in a fucking video game."
Isn't there a point?
Yeah, there is a fourth wall break.
That's right. I completely forgot
I'm
about
in a
that until
video
just
game.
now.
How fucking ridiculous!
I forgot
There's
about
something
that.
like
just
that.
until you said that, and I was like, I think that happened, and it did apparently.
It did. It's a really goofy thing. I mean, they did great stuff with that because they got the fourth wall breaks.
Well, and the thing that they also did, because the first game was made by Remedy, but it was also in tandem with 3DO and Apogee.
Not 3DO, 3D Realms.
3D Realms, sorry. And I can't remember who the head of Apogee Studios was, because they were thinking about... Huh?
It, I think, was with Apogee.
Well, I mean, like the guy.
Oh, okay.
I just can't think of his name.
Neither can I.
And he talked to them and said, because they were thinking like 3 different games that they kind of had, because they're just coming off of a decent success of some road rash type racing game.
Oh, yeah, like their previous games were just...
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't 3 million copies, but it was 90,000.
Yeah.
But then they also did a benchmark program that sold like 5 million.
Yeah, because it pushed the limits. And that's the engine that they made Max Payne out
Yeah.
of. But originally, Max Payne was...
Isometric.
Yep, a top-down Smash TV style game, and it was supposed to be called. There's skits in the TV shows that you could turn on, and instead of Max Payne, it's some other guy, and that's what the game was originally supposed to be called.
But the head of Apogee kind of said, no, focus on one game at a time.
Yeah, because they
and
were going to
put
do
all
3
your
at
efforts-
once.
Yeah, all your efforts into this one game. And I mean, it shows that they went balls to the walls and that it was a Blizzard type game where it wasn't pushed out before its time.
Oh
It
yeah,
was
they
done
took
and
their time
polished.
with it. They made sure it was done.
And I'm sure if we went back and sat down and played it, which I think we should do a Let's Play of Max Payne, I think that'd be kind of fun.
Oh yeah.
That we would see holes in either plot or where this could have been done better. But I mean,
Holes in the plot and holes in the floor that you fall through and die.
because this was back still somewhat in the infancy of the internet. It was
That game was not based on pushing DLC.
well, no. What I
It
meant
was
is
definitely
that
like its own game. So I mean, they weren't looking for patches.
well, that's what I was saying because
Well, that-
patches took a long time to. Because I remember playing Half-Life and I would jump into water and everything is just gray.
Yeah.
So I have no clue where anything is. So I just have to swim and then I see this little patch of different colored gray and I was like, oh, that's where I go out until I got a patch and then everything worked. And so I mean that's what I meant by just infancy, where certain things that needed to be fixed. It wasn't in the time where like, oh, I'm just going to update my game in 2 seconds.
See, I don't remember Max Payne ever needing a patch.
I think it did for me, but just in a few areas.
Because I remember my friend, he bought it. And this is like back when like they came in the big boxes. So you got the game, you got
Soundtrack.
the soundtrack, you got the book, and then you got the mouse pad. And
Yeah, I had the mouse pad.
I did too.
I think I still do somewhere.
I have no clue where mine went. Probably rotted.
Because I use like the huge art designer mouse pad because I hate having just like 3 inches or whatever it is
So-
standard issue.
At work, I have like this giant Overwatch one that I'm able to sit my keyboard on, and it has like the Overwatch symbol in the bottom left hand corner. Then where the mouse is, it's the Korean chick who like does the mecha, who runs around in the mecha. I can't remember her name, but just that on my mouse pad. And then I have like just a wrist rest that I can move anywhere. Plus, like, I went through and got ergonomic keyboard for work. I love it. Love ergonomic keyboards. I hate standard keyboards.
Elitist.
I'm a weirdo.
Well, we already knew that.
Yeah.
We're 60 episodes in. We know that by now.
60?
We're somewhere close to 60.
Damn.
We're going to have to think of something special for 100.
Oh, yeah. 5-hour episode where we just talk about nothing.
Going back, Max Payne 1 was an amazing trip.
I would give that game probably a 9 out of 10.
I would say probably like 9.5 for me because I loved it. Loved it, loved it.
It was frustrating for me, but it was one of the few games that I pushed myself to finish. Because, like, I would get a game, and if it was getting to the point to where it's too frustrating,
Just stop playing it.
Stop playing it. Tell it
See,
to
I
fuck
was
off.
I was into the story,
Yeah, and that
as
was
soon as
my
I
major
heard-
thing, too.
and as soon as I heard, we'll I think jump into Max Payne 2. As soon as I heard there's Max Payne 2, because Mona Sachs was another thing, a huge.
She was just kind of like a side character.
Yeah, in number
MP1.
one. But I was absolutely in love with Mona Sachs as like a 15, 16-year-old kid.
Well, like, whoever they had to do her body shots and everything else, beautiful woman.
Mhm.
And then her voice.
Yeah.
Ah.
But then in
Beautiful.
Max Payne 2, it was even better.
Oh, yeah. Because Max Payne 2 is when they brought in professional actors to do voices and professional actors to do the pictures for
The panels.
the panels. So,
And it was, I don't know, I enjoyed all the characters from Max Payne 2. Vlad was hilarious.
see, the thing is that Max Payne 2 takes itself a lot more seriously than Max Payne 1 does.
And did you know, I did not know this, which means that, and I still have Max Payne 2 somewhere, that if you play it on the hardest difficulty level, you can actually get a happy ending for the game.
Yes.
I did not know that. All
Neither
these years,
did I.
17 years. Well, actually, 15 years, yeah.
15 years, and I just learned about a happy ending like 3 days ago. 4 days ago, maybe.
So now this really, I mean, and this is interesting because, I mean, when we talked about WoW, I was like, I need to play WoW. Then so I'd, re-up my subscription so I could play WoW, because when we talk about this, it's like these trips down nostalgia lane where I was like, I want to recapture a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And now I'm really itching to go find my copies of Max Payne and play them till the wee hours of the morning.
You should just pick them up off of Steam if you can't find them. I mean, they're dirt cheap. And I think you can get Max Payne 1 and 2 in a set for like $10, and it's well worth it.
Yeah.
The only thing that sucks is that you have to repatch the first game because they lost the rights to the music. So you have to like download a mod for the music, and or else you're just playing a silent game with voices and people walking around. It's
Yeah.
a really weird experience.
And the music does make
Yeah, you need it
because it has that just beautiful undertone
oh yeah.
of noir-esque music. So it's, I mean, I don't know.
It needs it is definitely a need, especially in those panel sections. Even though it does rip you out of the immersion. If you ever watch those panels without sound or without music. They are kind of dry. So I mean, and the best thing, even we do this on our podcast, is we use background music to kind of filter our oopsie daisies and the fact that we don't record in a soundproof room.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have, a HVAC system running, and it's going to come through. But once you layer a little bit of music,
You don't really notice it.
exactly. So,
Which this episode is going to have Max Payne music, if I can
good.
find it.
It should. I really think it should open up with boom, 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 boom.
So good. And when I was driving here, I was just trying to get myself in the mode of Max Payne, so I was listening to some, I don't know, Polygon, 16 years in the making or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting goosebumps just remembering how much fun I had playing this game.
It's fun.
And
It's-
I mean, this was before any achievements or stuff like that.
yeah, exactly.
Where I didn't care about. I wanted story and I wanted a great game. And Max Payne 2 was right in that time when you're that teenage angsty everything, girls and
yeah,
going just crazy about.
most
Because
definitely.
right when we
It
moved
really
here,
taps into your.
because that was roughly. that was a couple of years after we had moved to Iowa, but still, I hadn't really. There were girls that I talk to, when I lived in New York, but I didn't have girlfriends.
You're right.
And so then I moved here. I was like, there's fresh new possibilities. This girl, this girl, this girl, this girl.
So, fresh new
Possibilities.
And I thought you were going to say fresh new pussy.
No.
Oh, there's fresh new pussy. Like, David, jeez.
That probably was in my mind because, like I said,
I mean, we were all teenagers at one point, and there is a time when you're a male.
I'm definitely not looking forward to that section of time with my son.
Oh. Whew.
Or my daughter.
You know you're going to walk in on him jerking off.
That's what I'm really afraid of.
And then you're just going to have to be. Then you're going to have to give him the talk and be like, "Look, locks are a thing. You can ask us for one. We'll put it on your door for you. You don't have to worry about it.
Put the sock on your door."
Yep, and not the sock that used to come in. But anyway, I mean,
So anyway, getting back to that, it was a love story is really what I was going for, and that I was super into it just because I was not making myself Max Payne, but just I was so invested in the story and wanting to see this love story unfold.
Yeah,
which is really weird because I
originally wasn't even supposed to be a love story, and then they kind of made it into that,
and it does it really well.
It worked out well. Though I'm going to tell you what.
Especially with the noir setting, just gorgeous, epic.
Of course.
Anyway.
Noir is made for love. But here's the thing. With that happy ending, it completely ruins the entire game. Because then there's no risk and all reward. So everything was for naught.
And then technically, would Max Payne 3 have happened?
No. Wouldn't. Because he would have been a happy man.
Yep. Who didn't shave his head.
Grow big ass beard. All my hair moved down to my face. I'd grown about 50 years and about 50 pounds as well.
He did get a little bit of weight.
I was getting a little chubby and carrying it around on my belly, but I didn't care. I was in Colombia and it was warm. I had a really comfortable place to live in. Comfortable enough to drink, do drugs.
I'm assuming he probably didn't do drugs. Not after his
Oh,
family,
he's addicted to painkillers.
Oh, well, okay.
Hardcore addicted to painkillers, which are opiates. So.
I can tell you that. From all the first
I mean,
two games,
like, you know what?
Sucking down those bad boys like they're Tic Tacs.
I'll tell you what, man. When I was playing through Max Payne 1 back in the day on PS2, I wore out my R1 button or whichever button it is, maybe circle, because it'd just be like, jump, 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 jump.
One thing I had against that is that you could only carry so many painkillers. It's like, I'm carrying like 18 different guns. I think I can handle a few more painkillers.
I would backtrack through old levels just to pick them up. until I found out the cheat code. And I was like, you know what? This game needs it. Fuck it. And I mean, like you said, it was before the time of achievements and everything else. And I didn't really feel like it was cheating because that game was goddamn hard. And it still is, unless you know all of the mob spawn points. If you know the mob spawn points, the game's really easy.
Yeah.
But it purposely puts you up against way more characters than you're supposed to be able to handle because it expects you to use bullet time. The worst part is that game, you can't just do a dive shot because it will immediately trigger bullet time. And
except in number 2, I think they fixed that.
Number 2, they fixed it, but Max Payne 1, that's how it was. And then, so if you fuck up, you dive shot when you don't mean to, you get put into bullet time, and then you have to, and then it brings you back into real time, and it takes time for you to put your hands on the floor and push yourself up. And anytime that happens, you're fucking dead.
I remember so many great slow-mo shots where, because once you kill the final person, it kind of does that where it's following the bullets and kicks you back to your body. Just, I'm trying to be purposely vague, because I don't want to just sit here and say, well, here's this level, and here's this level, and everything that happens in it. It's an experience that you need to have for yourself.
I would even suggest it to younger people who may look at it and just be like, "Oh, what a shitty old blocky game."
Yeah, because the graphics don't really stand the test of time. But I mean, it's 17 freaking years old,
and it runs like like butter. It's
Yeah.
it's as smooth as a baby's butt.
But it's all
Like
about
140 frames.
If you love great games with amazing story, if you love The Last of Us, go play this. This has a great story, great feels.
I would say that Max Payne is really what launched storytelling into video games. Because before, like, you kind of had storytelling in video games, but it wasn't like as deep and as hardcore as it was with that game. That game, like, mainly the story was its crutch. It was just story with gameplay.
Yeah.
And it was one of the first times where, because like they tried that with JRPGs, but then you get stuck where it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've been playing this cutscene for an hour and 40 minutes, and I'm just waiting to be able to go fight something. Whereas
I'm trying to think through my childhood of games that I played.
strictly for story,
Yeah. And I can't. I'm sure there were some,
a lot of them.
but I don't think
played,
that they did it in this fashion.
Right.
Like the story was there because I was thinking, like Metal Gear Solid. That was one of the first games I played and played through 3 times.
Yeah, but do you comprehend it?
I did, but that's what I'm saying is that there was story and you're following along, even though Metal Gear Solid is ridiculously convoluted.
Thank you, Hideo Kojima.
I love it.
He's a fucking genius.
But to try and comprehend how all the little strings,
I'm going to tell you what, man. When I played Sons of Liberty, that end, it's like a good, hour and 50 minutes just to play the end of that game. And I'll tell you what, all this crazy shit happened. I still don't understand what the fuck happened. All I know is at the end I was like fighting a guy on like a fucking 1700s battleship. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why am I fighting Big Boss on a fucking battleship in the Boston Harbor?
because Metal Gear. By the end of the game, all I really know is that nuclear weapons are bad, disarmament is good. Because they always had these little different statistics and stuff like that about how many nuclear weapons, at least in the first Metal Gear.
Yeah,
which I thought was kind of cool.
Snake.
But I mean, some JRPGs, because I know Final Fantasy came out before then. Final Fantasy VII. I mean,
dude,
a huge one.
See, like when I think of
games like that, I think that are so huge in their breadth that it's hard to keep the story mode going because you're grinding, you're doing all this stuff, you're looking for this item, you're doing this.
Right.
So I think that this game probably was the first one, for me at least,
and
I'll put that one out, where
it felt like it just went through smooth.
Yeah.
It was, like, I keep talking about, like, how jarring it is to be pulled out. But, I mean, there's games where, like, you totally get pulled out of your immersion. With that game, it's just, like, kind of like, oh, I'm watching a cutscene now. Yeah. Okay. And the best thing is, like, you're going to watch these cutscenes,
and
you're not going to feel like you're watching some dated game because of the way that they set it up.
Now, did they do... Because I'm trying to remember, back in my foggy memory, did the panels have movement? I mean, sound like where a person might move to the foreground or something like that. I can't remember if they did or not.
They did sometimes, like a arm would move or something. Kind of just like, like a chintzy action shot.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what I thought.
Nothing hardcore, though. I mean...
And I always enjoyed that kind of... I mean, not because they could have just done it with another panel, but I liked...
Yeah.
Stuff, just little...
Oh, yeah, because, like, I think, like, there's a part where, like, a guy's talking, he's sitting behind a desk, and then his arm comes up, and then it goes down, and then, like, papers are fluttering, but it made the noise, like... of somebody hitting a desk, and it's, it works. The other thing about these games, the things that I got addicted to are...
Painkillers.
Don't talk about my opioid addiction. That's between you and me and my dealer. No, the things I really got addicted to when I would play these games is the television shows that they would have. So they would have, like, Mr. Flamingo, whereas, like, mirrors are more fun than television. And it was kind of like a weird, almost Twin Peaksy game, but, like, it was also like you would gain insight into, like, Max Payne's life. Then there was like the action detective show that was based off of the original premise of Max Payne. And then
I like the soap opera, because wasn't there a soap opera one?
yeah,
I like that one.
but Max Payne 2, when they brought back Mr. Flamingo or whatever it was called, holy shit, like that, I was almost more like, what's gonna happen next when I turn on a TV? And that was the greatest thing, is just like everything was interactable.
And I did like how, because there were times in Max Payne 1 that I'm remembering more than if it happened in Max Payne 2, of, you're in the Puccinella's hotels or somewhere, and the bad guys are sitting down watching TV. Mm-hmm. And I like that there's programmed in there that they were just kind of farting around. They weren't just standing around waiting for you to...
Yeah, they would bullshit. And the greatest thing is that they scripted everything to where you would be walking and you could hear them having conversations in the distance, and they would keep having a conversation all the way up until you butted it, and then it'd be like, hey, what's that? Ah! The worst death sounds ever. I'll tell you what. There are some things in this game where you're going to find it cheesy or chintzy. Sometimes the faces that Max Payne makes are really fucking ridiculous, because Sam Lake didn't really know what he's doing, but hey, you know what? It works.
Well, there's also his face pasted onto a 3D image. So, I mean,
well, no, I'm talking about in the panels.
Oh,
like there's like crazy faces in those panels. Sometimes we're just like, you can't see what I'm doing, but I can assure you it's a crazy face. But Max Payne 2, I think, is when the whole idea of that type of game and what they could do with it really started to shine, because Rockstar got involved, and they really pushed a lot of money into them, because they were like, we believe in you, we believe that you can do whatever you want with this, and it will be great. And Sam Lake was able to go get training in screenwriting, and it shows really big in the in just the way that the story flows, the way the panels are written, the way that dialogue is done throughout the entirety of the game. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. They pushed more graphics into it and everything else. I mean, this was around the time when they started pushing the limits, I believe, of like the PS2, or they were really riding hard on an Xbox. So, I mean,
the heyday was for Xbox 360 to run those bad boys.
No, you're still running normal Xbox on those games. I know my shit. Max Payne 3. Welcome to Columbia, bitch. Max Payne in a setting that you never thought you wanted to see Max Payne, and a lot of people didn't. This game,
and I would be one of them. I was
definitely one of those people who's like, I'm never going to touch that game because it's
not set in New York. It's not
Max Payne. And the more that I watch a Let's Play of it, it's definitely Max Payne. I'm more into the idea of the game now. The only thing that sucks is if I do want to play it, I'm going to have to go back and play it on 360. Maybe they have it in the PlayStation Store. I don't know. Right now I can't really purchase anything, so who knows. I'll just stick with my Let's Play, though. But from what I've seen so far in the Let's Play, even though the setting is a lot sunnier, just because it's sunny out doesn't mean that the game isn't going to be dark.
Mm-hmm.
And that game really just taps straight into the underground, crime lords and everything else. Really, starts to become a Max Payne game. And it's intense, and it looks like it's just as hard as Max Payne 1 was. I really wanted to give it a try, because after watching those two videos on YouTube about it, Max Payne 1 and 2, I felt I owed it to myself to maybe give this game a chance. And it's like, well, I currently don't have a way to go out and buy it. I know I could have bought it at a Black Friday sale back in 2012 for $5. None of them sold. I remember they were just big old piles of Max Payne 3 that nobody bought. It was the first year KJ and I got together, so all of that stuff's like really memorable to me. But anyway, I kind of am disappointed with myself for not picking it up at that time. But here's the thing, like, so at work, sometimes I get some downtime between calls, especially if it's like a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Wednesdays especially, you know, I get a call maybe every 5 minutes or so. And so I was sitting there playing Max Payne. One of my coworkers walks around and he goes, "Oh, what you playing?" "Oh, Max Payne. Max Payne 1 sucks." And I was just like, "What the fuck did you just say?" He's like, "Yeah, fuck that game. Fuck Max Payne 2. I was like, "What?" He's like, "Max Payne 3 is the only good Max Payne." And I was like, "Are you fucking with me right now?" "No, I'm not. Max Payne 3 is the best Max Payne. It's got great action, and I could give a fuck less about the story." And that was an issue to me. Like, to hear somebody say that about a Max Payne game. Nobody's playing Max Payne because it's fucking fun to play. All right? Which is a lie. It is fun. It is a fun game to play. The mechanics in it are great. I'll tell you what, though, in Max Payne 2, when you have to play as Mona Sachs, it's some of the weakest gameplay in the world. You're going to hate it. At least I knew I hated it.
I liked it.
Really? I hated that whole fucking part. Where it's just like you're switching back and forth between, and it's just like, I'm going to be a sniper.
I love me Simona.
Sniping in that game's dick balls. All right?
It was kind of fun to do slow-mo, though.
Well, yeah, but...
Bullet time sniper shots.
And then
It
follow the
was
bullet.
Sniper Elite before Sniper Elite.
Yeah.
Without the nut shots.
Yeah, and it was cool because like you would follow it to the head and then, and I mean back in the day, you know, when you say pink mist, I mean that's really what you got with those older games. Because all right, we'll just kind of make the head kind of disappear and look at all that blood fizz. It's kind of looks like a fizzy bubbly bud. Blood. Isn't it great that you don't really have to edit our podcasts anymore, David?
Oh, I'm cutting that.
But anyway, when it comes to Max Payne 3, so the way it starts off is he's moved away. He lost everything, like really lost everything. He quit the force. He said, "Fuck this shit." And he was able to pick up a job working as security detail, and they're like, "Well, here you can live at this place pretty much rent free." This is part of the perks of the job. So during the day he does his job, and then at home he just goes home, he drinks, he takes painkillers, and he looks at a picture of his family, and he drinks until he pukes and passes out. And that's the Max Payne, you know, you really think of. Like, that's who he became because of what happened in those previous games. I feel like it really does a good job at carrying on that legacy of what would have happened. I feel like it is a really good example of what would have happened. So I think we owe it to ourselves to go in there and pick up Max Payne 3 and play it. I'm pretty sure it's on PC and we can pick it up on Steam. And, you know, I've got a controller, you know, so I don't have to play with mouse and keyboard like some kind of pleb.
See, I probably will play with mouse and keyboard if I go back, just because that's what I'm so used to with 1 and 2.
Well,
muscle memory.
You know, what's funny is because I played 1 and 2 on strictly consoles, and when I would try to play it on computer, I was like, fuck this shit, I need a controller.
See, I think I would have to use a keyboard, because I think E was...
Bullet time?
No, that was like left mouse button, or right mouse button. I think E was like painkillers.
Oh.
No, because it was AD.
AD. Never mind. Yeah, so strafing would be A and D.
Yep, and then
Or
R and E.
anus. Yeah. Shift, it was action probably.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I think if you get anything out of this podcast, play 1, play 2, and
join us in playing 3.
And join us in playing 3 because we owe that to Remedy and to Max Payne. And then, Sam Lake is still a beautiful writer. I really wish that Remedy hadn't have just kind of fizzled out and disappeared and gotten absorbed into Rockstar. Because, I mean, everybody's heard me say multiple times, I'm not really big on Rockstar games, just because if you give me too much of a sandbox, it comes a point where I just don't want to do anything. Every time a Grand Theft Auto game came out, I did purchase it, and I went into it being like, I'm going to enjoy it, I'm going to have fun with it, I'm going to actually do all the story stuff. But the story stuff just ends up becoming a slog to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just turns out I'm driving a car,
running over pedestrians,
and
shooting cops.
Yeah, and doing ramp jumps and finding rampages, and I really don't end up playing the game. So that's my issue.
I think they've gotten better at telling story, especially with Grand Theft Auto 5.
See,
Before
that's
was
the one I
kind of poopy. 3, everybody loves.
I tried 4,
San Andreas, and
so bad, Well, here's the thing: if you really want to get into San Andreas and all those other ones, if you really want to play those old games, you can pick them up on iOS or Android for $5 each. They have Liberty City, Vice City, San Andreas, not 4, but
Yeah.
And then the Liberty City stories and whatnot, I'm pretty sure you can also pick up. It's pretty much a golden age of classic PlayStation and PlayStation 2 gaming. If you're into playing stuff on your phone, if you have like a Bluetooth controller, which I have one I picked up a long time ago. I mean, it's a real big piece of shit, but it plays video games, and with Mapper, I'm able to get it to the way that I'm able to play games without really a worry. So,
well, all that to say that that's why you kind of don't like Rockstar games, is just because there's so much of an open world that you just end up doing nothing.
See, and so when you guys are like, oh yeah, Red Dead Redemption, and all I can think of is just like another sandbox I would end up doing nothing in.
That one I don't know, because I've played it, I've beat it, and I enjoyed it. The story kept on I pushed the story forward. I didn't do a lot of the side quest stuff. I didn't try and kill all the buffaloes, and I didn't do this, that, and the other.
Well, that's good. You didn't cause a genocide.
A buffalo. They had it coming.
That's what you get for roaming, you fuck.
Funny thing with, Luke?
Yeah.
That,
no, I don't know him.
Okay.
Ever since he got skinny, I don't know him. He looks weird. Still looks weird to me. Luke, get fat again so I know you.
But he was playing that, and he was going around trying to get all the achievements and all the, tidy up everything.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the achievements was to kill all the buffalo. And there's like 24 or something like that. And there's one that was right at the edge of the map where it went down into like a canyon, and then there's nothing on the other side, because that's just where the map ends. And so the buffalo went down there, and I don't know if it died or just despawned, but he could never finish it because the buffalo decided to run off the edge of the map.
Oh, and that's another issue you get with those open world games. Now, when it comes to Grand Theft Auto 5, I've heard the story for that is really good.
It also helps that there's 3 different people, so you can get different perspectives.
I still don't really. I think I've been burned so many times in the past where it's just I don't have the gusto to keep on trucking with it. It's you can only go bowling so much with Roman. You can only do so much shit before you're just living out your Scarface fantasy in Vice City.
See, I gotta do the fun stuff of
Grand Theft Auto 3. I mean, I don't even know what the fuck the story in that game is.
I can't even play it. I couldn't play it back then. I can't play it now.
It's bad.
Yeah, but I do dumb stuff in Grand Theft Auto 5 where I'll do like a taxi cab from hell where I flip a coin and either they get to go to their destination or they don't. Or they get to die in inventive ways.
See, like, I came from Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2.
Yeah, that was fun stuff.
And
top down.
Yeah, so like
good.
I had Grand Theft Auto and then Grand Theft Auto London or whatever it was.
That was really fun.
And I just remember doing a kill-a-thon, and then they had Grand Theft Auto 2 over on Dreamcast, and it was beautiful because it was on Dreamcast. It ran buttery smooth, and it was tons of fun for a top-down. And then Grand Theft Auto 3 came out, and it was like, this is fun to do for a little bit, and I'm bored. Aren't there any other games out that I can play now? Just waiting. I guess I'll go play Final Fantasy X again. Alright, I'm just going to load up MTV Music Maker and I'm going to make some more
sick
songs.
beats.
Oh no, dude, I used to be hardcore. You can find it on the internet. It's called The Casual Mail if you're in the grindcore. I did post that, and all I know is that my friend was in a band called Dispensing of False Halos from here in Des Moines, Iowa. So, and they were known nationally. But my friend was in Chicago, and they were hanging out at like an after show party. And this dude comes up and he goes, "Hey, you're from Des Moines, right?" And they're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Have you ever heard of this guy, The Casual Mail?" And my friend Brandon just cracks up and he goes, "Really? Really?" He's like, "What's so funny?" He's like, "My friend makes that on MTV Music Generator in his basement in his underwear." He's like, "It's really good." It's garbage. It's pure garbage. I wrote it to be garbage, but people love it. Either way, I think we've carried out this episode long enough. But man, has it been a beautiful trip down memory lane, and I think...
And once again, I know this was very vague in its explanation of what Max Payne is, but I want to do that intentionally just because, like I said, it's a trip that you have to take yourself to let the story wash over you, enjoy the gameplay, enjoy the bullet time that was brand spanking new. I mean, other games had done it, but not as well or as beautifully.
No other game had implemented it. I mean, I think The Matrix had just came out.
So, I mean, other people had used it, but it wasn't in its absolute glory that it was in Max Payne.
Yeah, Max Payne really redefined it. And I know, they had it, and then they had to redesign it, and then they had to redesign it. They redesigned bullet time multiple times before they got it right. And then you got what was in Max Payne 1, and it was a perfected system.
But on Steam, you have Max Payne 1 and 2 for $14.99. So, I mean, it's dirt cheap to go pick it up, or $5, like AJ said, per game on Android.
And I think it's on iOS as well.
I'll have to find that out. I don't know. But this has been 30 and Nerdy. We just want you to enjoy beautiful, beautiful games.
Most definitely.
With an amazing story and mostly good gameplay.
I hope that I've peppered in enough stuff that makes you really want to go visit it. The end.
When I was feeling weak and we crossed that one time, screaming stop signs, staring wild eyes keep on flashing by, and we keep driving into the night. It's a late goodbye. Such a late goodbye, and we keep driving into the night. It's a late goodbye. The devil grins from ear to ear when he sees the hand he's dealt us. Points at your flaming hair and then we're playing hide and seek. I can't breathe easy here, this our trail's gone cold behind us. Till stare at yourself grown old and weak. We keep driving to the night. It's a late goodbye, such a late goodbye. We keep driving to the night. It's a late goodbye, such a late goodbye. We keep driving into the night. It's a late goodbye, such a late goodbye. We keep driving to the night. It's a late goodbye, such a late goodbye. We keep driving to the night. It's a late goodbye, such a late goodbye.
From this distant vantage point, the Earth might not seem of any particular interest. But for us, it's different. Consider again that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on a mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam. The Earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors, so that in glory and triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe, are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The Earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit? Yes. Settle? Not yet. Like it or not, for the moment, the Earth is where we make our stand. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot.